Welcome to Storytime with Pastor Steve. Today's story, The Man Who Won Without Fighting. It's based on Judges chapters 6 and 7. It's written by Yvonne Holloway McCall and illustrated by the Vicero Associates. Gideon hid his bundles of wheat, for spies were out scouting for something to eat. He crouched in the shadows and watched till at last the thieves and their camels had traveled past. Then he jumped, for behind him someone spoke, an angel who sat in the shade of an oak. And he said, "What a mighty leader you'll be! You'll set all the people of Israel free. Rescue us from the people of Midian." "Who, me? But how could that be?" cried Gideon. Then he prayed, "Dear God, if it's really so, please use this sheepskin to let me know. If you want me to gather my men in a band and drive the enemy out of the land, let the fleece be soaked and wet as winter, and the ground be dusty and dry as a splinter." Next morning, before the sun was high, the fleece was wet and the ground was dry. But Gideon said, "To be sure that I'm right, I'll put out the fleece again tonight. Let the fleece be dry and fluffy, and yet let the ground all around be soggy and wet." In the morning the ground was damp with dew, but the fleece was dry, as good as new. So he gathered an army of men on the hill, and they stopped by the river to drink their fill. Some cupped their hands to their mouth to drink. Some knelt with their mouth in the watery brink. Then God said, "The ones with their mouths in the foam that kneel at the edge of the water, send home." So Gideon sent away rank after rank, till only a handful were left on the bank. Then Gideon frowned as he saw the foe, the enemy, camped in the valley below, covering the country for miles around like thousands of grasshoppers clumped on the ground. And Gideon frowned grew deeper still as he counted his 300 men on the hill, just slightly outnumbered. "If you'll do this, I say," God told him, "you'll win, though your army is small and your ranks are thin." And continuing, then he explained to Gideon how to defeat the army of Midian. So Gideon commanded, "Split up in 3 groups. In the night they will think we have many more troops. I'm handing each man a trumpet to blow. When the time is right, you'll just know. Then shout at the enemy troops of Midian, the sword of the Lord and the sword of Gideon. Now light your torches, but keep them from showing. Put them in jugs to hide them from glowing." So with torches in jugs to hide the light, they followed their leaders late in the night. As they quietly crept down the steep dark hill, the enemy encamped, lay sleeping and still. There's the little group. There's the big army. At the signal they shouted and trumpets blew, "The sword of the Lord, and to Gideon too." They smashed their jugs and the torches spread their flaring flames of orange and red. The smashing noise, the torchlight glare, the trumpets at night with a scary blare jolted each enemy soldier awake, and all in confusion they made a mistake. They fought one another, and then in dread Helter-skelter, they turned around and they fled. So God's clever plan of trumpets and lighting made Gideon win without even fighting. His people were safe. They shouted and roared for Gideon, their leader, who followed the Lord. You conquered your foes. You're ever so clever. You saved us. Now rule us as king forever. No, replied Gideon, for though it seems odd, I'm not the hero. The hero is God. Again, another time when God does the impossible, and he saves people through ways that just don't seem right. He defeated a great army with just a few men who never lifted a sword, only trumpets and flames. May God remind us that he is truly in control, that he is the one that we need to trust with all things in our lives. May God bless you today.